A little bit different today. The speakers and CDs are in front of me this time because in the handful of videos that I've done, I've realized I haven't actually formally introduced myself. So that's your hook. That's the introduction. What's up, YouTube? I go by the name crookedfoot. I'm a lo-fi slash boom bap artist, I guess. Twice nominated SAS Music Award Instrumental Artist of the Year. I'm on here because outside of actually making beats, I love the idea of promoting the ownership of music, whether it's what we're consuming or what we're releasing. And after I took all of my music off streaming platforms, I realized the importance of actually having something physically tangible that not just I could hold, but the people who enjoy listening to my music can hold as well. So outside of what I actually control, you will not find me on any streaming platforms. Anything that's up there now is just what labels own and have the rights to at this point, and I can't do anything about that. So I got my start, I think I started making beats when I was about 16 years old, and into my mid-20s I was operating under a completely different alias, and my motive was completely different at the time. I was doing the selling beats and chasing placements, so you could find me on BeatStars or Airbit, Track Train, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere that it was remotely possible for me to sell beats or pitch beats to artists, you could find me there. And I like to think for that time I was relatively good at it. I managed to sell quite a few beats, but I also was able to lock in a few placements. And over the course of that time, some of the artists that you could hear on my beats included Mocha Only, Brothers Grimm, Lord Juco, Rock Marciano, Pace One, Benny the Butcher, Classified. I had put out countless projects during that time, beat tapes towards the end of that, and that was kind of my hustle at the time, and where I chose to focus a lot of my energy was on putting beats on YouTube and onto BeatStars and just trying to get my music in front of as many eyes and ears as possible. And it was starting to lead to a burnout. And around the same time, one of my close friends and collaborators, Home Sweet Home, had decided that he no longer wanted to be a part of the physical world and made the decision to leave early on. So after kind of spiraling and realizing that I was burning out, about 4 months later, I decided it was time to call it quits. I packed up all my gear, I sold most of it, and I was completely content with not making any music anymore. That was it. I was just gonna lead a regular old life and just read books, go to work, come home, spend time with family, and that was absolutely it. I had no care to make music at that time. And then the accident happened. So I was leaving work one day and I slipped on a patch of ice, and the next thing I know, I'm going to sit up and my ankle is 90 degrees sideways. So got the surgery done. I was on house rest and off work for 6 months, and during that time I had stumbled across some lo-fi producers on YouTube, primarily Eldre and Sarah the Instrumentalist. So I was like, you know what? I got nothing else to do. What better way than to get back into music than with nothing but time on my hands? So I re-downloaded FL Studio. I found the Labs piano from Spitfire Audio, and I started making the most generic, basic, soft lo-fi beats that you could ever imagine. And I was off to the races, and I started putting stuff up on Spotify again. I started pitching stuff to these playlists. I was trying to lock in the editorials, and I was having fun doing it, but at the same time I knew that that wasn't me. It was a temporary pit stop. And that's when I started talking to Cal Kappa, and we realized that by pitching to the playlists, we were essentially doing the same thing as chasing playlists with artists, and a lot of the beats that we were making sounded the same. So away we went. I got the Tracklib subscription. I was pulling samples off of there. I was pulling samples off YouTube, off records. And then I discovered like DiBiase and O'Ricky, Impression. I was listening to podcasts with guys like House Shoes, and had stumbled across John Makes Beats and all these other artists that were doing really, really cool things and creating a sound that I was much more familiar and in tune with. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? We're going to take everything off of streaming platforms. I had realized that getting paid 1/3 of a cent for my art wasn't really what I felt that I was worth as an artist, and also the realization that if those streaming platforms went out of business tomorrow, that all of my music and all of the people that enjoyed listening to my music, it was gone. They might never find me, because when you're on those playlists, you're kind of replaceable, or forgettable might be the better term for it, and they're just listening. It's background noise. They're not familiar with you. You're just there. It's static. So we chose to pivot, and I started pushing physical. I found a CD duplicator that I got for $70 off Facebook Marketplace, and we were off to the races. I started pressing up test copies. I found a printer. I started putting artwork on these things, and then I started doing things like mailing out a monthly collectible to Patreon subscribers. So whatever I created that month got pressed up onto the disc, duplicated, packaged, mailed out, and that was cool. And that's how we kind of got to this whole culture over content thing. Initially, the culture over content was going to be preservation over playlists, which is basically what I was just speaking on. It means to preserve the art form, to preserve beat culture, because it's important to me that what we put out there stands the test of time, and it's not just pitched to a playlist and forgotten about, and you're on to the next one and you're creating all these beats en masse. It's a much slower growth. What you see on here and the numbers that I'm putting up, they might not look like much, but I'm proud of them because they're authentic views and they're authentic listens through my SoundCloud or my Bandcamp or my Patreon or wherever it might be. In the Discord, it's authentic and honest conversation about beats and life and all of that other stuff that goes on in our day-to-day that we don't necessarily document when we're putting things on Instagram. And culture over content doesn't mean that we're anti-content. It just means that we're more intentional with the content that we consume or the content that we're choosing to put out surrounding projects or things of that nature. It's just more in tune with who we actually are as artists, and it's based around this whole DIY ecosystem that I've kind of started to create for myself. And I can't really show you because you're focused on this, but I call it the DIY dojo because everything that I need is here. I have the CDs, I have the printer, I have the cases, I have the ability to design my own artwork. I'm creating the beats in here. I'm doing all of the packaging here and then taking them to the post office. So that to me is what being a do-it-yourself artist is all about. It might not always be perfect. Your package might come, the insert on the CD might be a little bit crooked, or you might see something that's a little bit imperfect. And to me, that's exactly what being do-it-yourself is all about. It's not about being perfect. It's about the progress that's made and the steps that we're taking to get there. I remember when I first started, I was printing covers on photo paper, and that was terrible to try and fold and insert into these cases. And then I tried flyer and brochure paper, and that wasn't great either. We've moved on to matte paper, and it's just that much better. So that is the DIY artistry and the whole culture over content ideology that I choose to promote and speak about, and who I am at my core. So that's what I love doing. This is where my life has taken me since I started making beats again after my injury, and I honestly, I'm happy here. It's just it's important to me as an artist to be able to connect with other people, because before any of it all, I'm a fan first. I love collecting music, and if you follow me on Instagram, you see me opening up the packages, you see me post about when it's mail day, and I get excited about it. I'm a fan of this before anything else. Above all, I just love beat culture at its core, and everything that it's provided me and awarded me is such an added bonus. But more than anything, I'm happy to be here, and I hope you are too. If you stuck around, I appreciate you, and I can't wait to provide much more for you on this channel.